I've had this hawthorn for 30 years, and as a kid I can remember watching people hedge laying, and when you hedge lay you can cut through a hawthorn 12 feet tall 3/4 of the way through, and then you split the trunk and lie a strip of wood, you lie the whole thing on its side attached to the root by a little twisted strip of wood, and 9 times out of 10 a hawthorn will just carry on growing like nothing happened. And I don't think there's another species of tree that you can really get away with that with, like you can with hawthorn. And I remembered this, so I thought, well, maybe I can use that. So what I did is I cut part way through this long whip in half a dozen places, and I cracked it and bent it in some places to almost 180 degrees. That's how I created the movement in the upper part of this tree that can be seen much better in the winter. And that essentially, that's what makes this tree, that craggy, sharp movement, I suppose. I'm going to show you exactly how I did that. As you can see, this is a young hawthorn sapling. I'd say it's about 5 years old. You can more or less count the sort of the rings on this. So it's very young, it's very vigorous, it's not old, it's long and whippy, and not dissimilar to the branches that were on top of that hawthorn in the first place. You know, this one's about 6 foot from soil to the tip there. But, you know, the ones on that hawthorn, believe it or not, were about 4 feet long. Once you start cracking and folding something up in 3 dimensions, it shortens it quite a bit. Now, I literally dug this up last week, and because I'm doing a video, I'm trying to demonstrate how the other hawthorn was created. I'm going to wire and crack and style that this week. Under other circumstances, I just wouldn't do that. If you're going to do it, style a bonsai tree, get it in a pot, get it established. If it's happy and growing well a year later, then start to work on it. So I'm not recommending that you do this, and I'm not entirely comfortable that I'm doing it myself, but it's to serve a purpose today. That said, it is young, it is vigorous, so its chances of re-establishing itself and growing on quite happily are much higher than if this was an old collected piece of material. Absolutely no way you want to be getting stuck into a piece of collected material a week after you've dug it up. Just not any point in doing it. Do a bit of pruning, but certainly don't do what is, you know, really quite an extreme kind of wire and style. Having said all that, I will be very, very surprised if this tree dies completely, but obviously each time I put a sharp bend in, the probability of it surviving above that point kind of diminishes. So I should be very pleased if it survives right to the tip, but I wouldn't be all that surprised. It may well do, but I'd be extremely surprised if I kill it completely. I'm not going to aim to move the bottom too much. Most of the movement is going to be higher up, but certainly I want the option. There's a good reason I'm not moving the bottom of the tree, and that's because in order to keep the trunk alive all the way around, you really need to split at the axle of a branch in the trunk, and the bottom doesn't have very many branches and it doesn't have very many strong ones, so I don't want to put too many or too much stress on the bottom part of the tree really, but it gets easier once you get up here when there are much stronger, better branches and the trunk is thinner too. So just enough to make the design work, which I hope will be the case. This is not quite like wiring and styling and bending a pine, because, you know, once you've cracked it and bent it, you can't really put it back again. Right, so I'm going to start putting some movement into this. What I'm going to do is I am going to cut a sort of on an angle alongside the wire, about 45 degrees, at the base of this shoot. And the reason I'm doing it at the base of a shoot, and I will do every single one at the base of a shoot, is because when I crack it, obviously I have then separated the wood below that crack from the wood above it. And what will happen is any nutrients that are travelling up that side will obviously, I'm going to start with this branch, let's say, you know, they're going to feed that one a bit, they're going to go on it, they're going to feed that one, but then they can't move up this side of the trunk anymore because I've cut it. So then they're going to tend to feed this branch at the top more. That's going to invigorate that shoot a little bit, but it is also going to make sure that that side of the wound stays alive. So if I just cut there, I could do the same thing, I could get the branch and it would probably survive above just the same, but the wound would heal much more slowly and it may also die back a little bit, and then you get sort of a misshapen trunk. So by doing it this way, it's going to keep both sides of the wound alive, the bark's going to grow into that wound from both sides, so it's going to heal it more quickly, and we're going to keep the trunk kind of complete. So you've got to do this at the base of a branch for bonsai purposes, shall we say, but obviously when they're hedge laying, they don't worry about that, they just cut it and off they go. Now, as I was saying, if you're spiral wire in a nice whippy pine, you can bend that in sort of, you know, well, potentially sort of 360 degrees, shall we say, you know, to some degree. Whereas when you do this, you've essentially created a hinge that will turn in one direction. So you're limiting your options a little bit. So I don't know if that's far enough through yet. There we go. Probably want to. Well, I'm going to live with that. I'm going to trust the wire to sort of hold it. And I'm going to see if I can bend it a little bit further. I could cut through a little bit more. The tree would probably forgive me for doing that, but of course I'm limiting the sap that can move above it even more, so I'm going to settle for that. I think I'd like to get some more movement there yet. Okay, that'll do. Now, what I really want is to be able to move this up now. So the first chance I've got, obviously these branches are on the top of the branch, so I can only really move it, you know, down really with those. So the first option I've got for moving it up is there really. I don't want that long straight piece, but maybe we'll come back to that later. So let's see if I can get it to go upwards. I mean, at this point, let's say, you know, it's not a bit of valuable material, it's a whip that I dug up last week. So I'm doing my best to make a nice design, something interesting. But, you know, I've got the option to kind of change the potting angle. So we'll get there in the end, shall we say, whatever happens. I feel that's a little bit flimsy, so that's going to need a bit more support, I'd say. So I'm going to do my best to sort of guess where these are going to work best, and then once we've got to the top of the tree we're going to come back down again and see what else we need to do. And the other thing, what's slightly different to the way I would normally work, let's say, is I would normally step back and I would I'd take a look from where you are, and that's something I can't do at the moment, so I'm going to take a break at some point and do that, but let's get a series of bends in first. So I'm going to come back towards the trunk. Don't forget to work in 3 dimensions, so it's, you know, it's not all about what's going on the potential front, shall we say. And it gives the tree some depth, you know, aesthetically it works well to give it, but also, so working in 3D with your bends gives the tree some sort of depth, but it also it prevents the tree from sort of just filling in and straightening out the curves over time, particularly if you start with small material. Not such a big problem here. And the other thing it does is it gives you more options of where your front can be. You know, if you've only worked in 2 dimensions, that's your front, and that's always going to be your front unless you come to the back, you know. But you've really limited it. So when you go backwards and forwards a little bit, you really give yourself a lot more choices in the future. And since I don't really know how well this is going to work visually, the more choices I've got, the better. We're starting to get some half decent kind of movement in there now. Once I've got up here, I really just need to kind of nick the wood to start the process. It's easy enough to crack it, whereas I needed to cut quite deeply in these first few. Right, now I need to get all that movement back and maybe sitting on here. I think I'll be happy with that. For now. Smooth that up. So. Right, as you can see, I hardly need to put any cuts in now, so I'm going to wire up this one and try and make something that I think looks like the beginnings of an apex. So, removing all these branches that I haven't used as the outside of a hinge obviously will encourage the tree to preserve the ones I have and stop the vigour from going into the branches that aren't damaged in any way. And instead of the ones that I want to live. So I mean, I've basically sort of given the tree less choices than it would really like. Okay, so that is, I'm satisfied with that, shall we say. If you bear in mind that this was 6 foot long, literally, it's now down to a tree that's, what, 24, 30 inches, something like that. There's a reason I've kept as much of that, or I've kept all of that 6 foot. And that's because this is, the leader is going to be the strongest sort of branch on a sapling, and that's really sort of, it's still sending back the auxins to say, you know, grow, grow, grow kind of thing. And that's going to help to sort of keep the trunk alive and pull sap right through the tree. So if I start cutting this off here, it's actually more likely to die back than it is if I keep the original leader. That's my theory, of course. We're putting it to the test, aren't we? So all we're really looking at this point is a trunk line. You know, clearly what I've made is a kind of literati tree, and as much as anything else, it's a demonstration of what is possible with a hawthorn. We've got to wait and see how much of that tree survives, and then assuming that it survives and some of these branches continue to grow and it gets established and it looks happy at the end of the year, I'll show you how to start aging that bark so we end up with that nice old craggy hawthorn bark sooner than we might if we just left nature to take its course. I'm going to seal up these wounds with some bits of plumber's tape now, and this is just to keep them damp. Just speed up that sort of healing process. So we go all the way up the tree, seal all of them, put it somewhere mild and damp, I suppose, out of strong sunlight. That'll be the day. And just see how it does. So this is our cracked hawthorn, a couple of months on. As you can see, it's in full growth. Down at the bottom here we've got some lovely strong shoots coming. And that's partly as a result of the cracks. If I turn it a little further, you can see that those shoots are actually coming from just behind the cracks. And I mean, that's a good strong shoot. We keep going round. Almost every crack has sent out a shoot. Another one here and here. And if we go on up, you see they get a little bit sort of weaker towards the apex, but otherwise the whole thing is alive right to the tip, which I'm very pleased about. That's a real result. Largely where it's been kind of cracked, it's already starting to heal. You can't see it because the tape's on there, but you can kind of feel it. You can see the lumps developing underneath the tape. There is some good reasons for that. Obviously this was quite a young, and it was a really quite vigorous sort of sapling when I took it, so that's going to greatly increase its sort of resilience to that kind of treatment. An older bit of material, you know, I'd have been pushing my luck putting all the bends, all the cracks that I did into this one. And of course it was repotted at the same time, so I was pushing my luck a bit, I felt, but that's hawthorns.